Hello, my front-end friend, and welcome back to another video where we're going to dive into the wonderful world of CSS by looking at three of my favorite CSS patterns. And really, these are more like primitives, which you can already know the first one coming here. This is the stack. We're going to dive right into it and look at not only how I like to use them, but like sort of some tricks on making them more useful as we're looking at these, because they are common patterns that you've probably seen before. But I want to look at how you can take them up another step as well. So yeah, we're going to be diving in first here and starting with the stack. And this is one of the few places, if you've been following me for a while, you probably know I'm a bit of a grid fanboy. This is one of the areas where I used to use grid, and now for this pattern I use flexbox. And so the idea with this is you have a margin 0 reset somewhere, getting rid of all the spacing, because you get annoying things with different spacing coming up in different places. And we can throw a display flex with a flex direction of column and a gap on there. And when I hit save, it reintroduces the spacing. It's whenever I have to do this, it feels weird. I'm like, oh, well, grid's already doing that. The problem is I have a grid modifier on these ones down here. And if I do the same thing with grid, weird stuff happens. And you go, oh, that's kind of awkward. And this is what I actually like to call mystery spacing in when you're using grid, because with grid, this happens if the parent is stretching and you start looking through, oh, I have a bad hover effect. Look at that. I forgot about the text color. Bad demo, Kevin. Yeah, with grid, what happens is if you have the auto heights on things and you inspect in there, you won't actually see anything that's creating this extra space. And that is something I do talk quite a bit about in my course, CSS Demystified. If you're interested, link for that is in the description. But yeah, with grid, this happens. So you could come in and then say like align content. No, not align. Yeah, align content can be start, and that will push things back up. There's a few different ways you could actually do this. Then you could also do a justify items of start, and then you got to spell things correctly. There we go. And then the buttons are back to there. And now these actually look kind of the same. But then if I want to push the button down, how would I do that? Because my grid is actually short now and I can't push the item down. Whereas with Flexbox, if you do want to push them down, it's nice and easy. And so I could come on my card and on the cards, because this is a stack, but it's also a card. I wouldn't do this on the stack itself. And this is a bit about how I actually use these things. I'm letting the stack pattern or primitive set the stage, and then on the element, I might make a few modifications to it. And we're going to see that through all of these patterns here, where I could come in and say that the .btn that's at the bottom gets a margin top or margin block start. Let's do the block start because I'm using logical properties everywhere here of auto. And then it pushes it to the bottom. Looks like crap in this layout because I exaggerated the spacing or the content on things. But you get the idea that if you do need that pattern, it's very easy to do a flexbox. So that's one of the reasons I like doing it this way. And then you have less to fight with grid, where I feel like it gets a little bit awkward. The other thing I did want to mention, and this is why I have a custom property here, is I'm using this stack gap custom property, but I'm not actually declaring that anywhere. It's not in my root. It's not anywhere at all. I'm just using a fallback here. And often this fallback would actually be a custom property to one of my spacing variables, but for simplicity's sake, we can just say 1rem, but then maybe on your card, you want that to be a bit different. Let's take this off because it is a little bit ugly, but I can come on my card and then I can say that my stack gap is different. Stack gap is going to be 0.5 rem. To make it a lot smaller and tighten things up, or maybe I need it to be 1.5 because I want things to be more spaced out. And it opens up this possibility of easily modifying things in different situations by having that as an undefined custom property with a fallback value. Awesome, that one is done. That is the stack. I think we've covered enough on that one. So let's go down to another way that we reintroduce spacing, which is prose. And with my prose, let's get rid of my article here. So in the HTML, I have my article here, which is nothing on it right now. Once again, I've nuked all the spacing. And I could come on here and I could say this is a stack and go back to what we just had. The problem with the stack is the spacing is consistent. And that might be, oh, Kevin, don't we want consistent spacing? In something like our cards here, yeah, consistent spacing actually makes a lot of sense. But when you have running text like this, it doesn't make so much sense. And that's where we open up for the prose class instead. And if you've been using Tailwind, they do have a prose class that works very similar to what I'm going to show you here, though there is a slight difference with it. Where with my prose, I'm using the lobotomized owl here, and I'm doing a margin block start with the same idea. Prose flow, or whatever you want to call it, prose spacing maybe, and then I'm using one M. And this is really important, this one M right here. So if I hit save, it reintroduces the spacing now. But what's happening is we're adding a margin block start or a margin top to all of these elements using that 1M of spacing. And you'll notice the space here is bigger than the space here. This is bigger, and it's because it's based on the font size, and that's also why I'm doing a margin block start. I'm adding it to the top and I'm doing it with an M, and that's because from a typography perspective, this makes a lot more sense where we can group things together. It's just like the rules of hierarchy where you want this content is related to this, so it should be closer to this than it is the thing coming after it. Same thing here. This is closer to the heading that it's part of. So it makes more sense to do it this way. Very common typography principle. As I said, Tailwind actually uses the exact same thing. Like people are like, oh, this is unreadable, but then they use Tailwind and it's doing literally the same thing, but they do it like this instead, where for them it's layering in. So anything that's in a prose, it kicks in and goes through, including the children. I like making sure it's only, or including grandchildren and other elements that are in there. I prefer doing it this way and layering the prose if I need to, but usually I end up with a prose, and then you have like a figure or something in there that ends up being a stack, or cards that end up being a stack, or whatever it is. So this is how I like doing it. If you've watched my content previously, you might know I used to call this flow, and flow works well. We're reintroducing the flow to the content. I just feel that more people understand the concept of prose and it makes sense to me. So I've switched over to using prose, but it's exactly the same pattern as before. And once again, the custom property, as I said, that you can overwrite it in different areas if you need to. So I really like that one right there. And last but not least, the pile. And I'm going to start with the pile that everybody always sees, and then we're going to look at ways that we can modify this a little bit to be a little bit more useful and maybe use it in ways that you haven't seen before. Or thought of using before. Perhaps, maybe you have, and that's awesome if you have. So we're gonna start with this one though. This is like the classic example of it and the problem you can run into with it, where let's find it in my CSS. I have my pile right here. And on the pile, it's a display of grid template areas of pile, and then a place items of center. You don't necessarily need this, but I do think it makes a lot of sense. But where the real magic comes from is this right here, where we're saying all the children get a grid area of pile, meaning they all share the same grid area, meaning they all stack one on top of another. So if I come into that hero that I've created over here, hero, and I add pile, all of a sudden I get text going on top. Look at that, that's cool, except I have a problem where text is going on top of other text. And the reason that's happening, that's weird that my paragraph is also giant and bold. I'm not sure what I did to cause that to happen, but that's okay. But the problem that's happening here is I have my image, my H3, and my paragraph are all getting the same area. So usually what you'd end up having here is something like another div, and in that div you would move this content. So we'll just paste it into here. And now we have the hero area and everything layered and centered. And again, I don't know what's up with the font sizes on things here, but I'm actually going to take the paragraph out for a second just to show you that it does get centered within the area if you have different types of content, which is fabulous. And another thing that's nice with this is you can easily add in Z indexing of things, because we don't need positioning for it because we're in a grid context, and Z index works with grid. So what that means is on my pile, this would not make sense, but let's say we came on my hero and I'm going to grab the image that's in there and give that a Z index of 2, and it's actually going to move in front. Normally it just follows the source order. So like this is in the back, then this would be on the front. And if you had other content, you can keep stacking them. But if you do need to make a change to the Z index, simple, and you're good to go. In this case, that doesn't make much sense. And just really quickly, you might get a question, or you might wonder if you should use place content here. This is actually not going to work for this pattern. Place content, place items, you can feel like which one should I be using? If I save this, it's actually going to go over here, because content is controlling the grid itself, and the grid is actually the size of my image right now. So the cell is that big and it can't get smaller. And that's when you're doing place content, it's all about where the grid is. If you aren't familiar with that or don't know too much about that, I would suggest I have another video, I'll link it down in the description, that looks at the difference between the items versus content. And it will make a lot more sense if you're unfamiliar with it, because it actually makes a lot of sense with grid. It's the easiest context to understand the difference between the items contexts and the grid contexts. And yeah, you can watch that video, but also I mentioned CSS Demystified before, and I'd be remiss not to mention it again. If you are looking to improve your CSS and step up your game with CSS, it might be the exact course that you're looking for. It does go into getting into the CSS mindset and then moves into deep dives into both Flexbox and grid. So if you'd like to know more about that, the link for it is down in the description. But with that, let's finish things off with those different ways that we can use our pile that you might not necessarily have thought of. So this is my featured card, and let's move down and find that. That's one right here, folded away. I have the featured card, and then I'm gonna add a pile here. And everything just stacks on top of each other. We can't even read the text now, it's kind of terrible. But it is there, and it's centered. But what's nice with this is I can then grab the content, because I did put all of this in a div. So I'm doing the same pattern we were just looking at with my image and then my div. And I can actually change the alignment of things. So I can say the align self is end, and it pushes down to the bottom. And then I can also add a gradient on here, and all of a sudden we can see it. And you could do this background with a pseudo element instead, if you have multiple different things that are layered. And then if you need to, depending on where you've placed it, you do have the Z index like we've already looked at, to control the order. And of course this could come up to start. I'd have to switch my gradient around because it's to top right now, but to bottom. And so there's a few different things that open up when using this. And even for like avatars with a notification on it, it actually makes sense right there. So if I look at this one, avatar, pile, hit save, and it stacks them on top of each other, or piles them on top of each other, I guess I should say. And that looks all right. But then we could come in here and say that the dot badge is a place self of I'm using two different ones. This would be start end, which is looking really weird, but that means it's place self is the shorthand. So maybe you'd want to do the longhand here, but it's doing align self start and a justify self end, moving it to the top right. Or I don't know why this is usually how it looks, but if you need it on the other end, a start. Of course, there's different options that can come up with your badges to sort of position them how you want. But I think it's a nice example of how we can use this type of primitive, set the stage, and then come through and modify little elements here or there where we need them to. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, just really quick reminder, there are some links down below for other videos that I mentioned, as well as for CSS Demystified, if you are interested in it. And with that, I'm going to say a very big thank you to my enabler of awesome, Johnny, as well as all my other patrons and channel members for their continued support. And of course, until next time, don't forget to make your corner of the internet just a little bit more awesome.